Hey guys, it's Barrett with the Gimme Camper. So today we're coming at you from Mayberry. Well, essentially it's Mayberry. Mayberry is of course the fictional town of the Andy Griffith show. But this is Mayberry, North Carolina, which is actually Mount Airy, North Carolina, which is where Andy Griffith was born, and therefore the inspiration of the town of Mayberry. Now this particular video, we're going to talk more about the campground here. This is Mayberry Campground, which is only 2 to 3 miles from Mount Airy, downtown area where you're going to find a lot of things to do. We're going to cover all that in a separate video. This video, we're just going to talk mainly about the campground here. But there's even more history here than the whole Andy Griffith thing. Like, I'm not the hugest Andy Griffith fan in the world, the TV show at least, but you know, I do have respect and I find that interesting. But as far as the campground here, let me tell you about this history. I find it so interesting. You know, whenever 20 years ago we'd be watching Ripley's and you'd see something about some Siamese twins back in the day. Those were Chang and Eng Bunker. I think I said their names right. Well, they had apparently owned a 2,000-acre farm here, and this campground is on that farm, and some of their descendants actually run this campground. And I find that hugely interesting. So, you know, there is a ton of stuff around here history-wise. There's actually a house here that one of the Siamese twins' sons built, and that house is actually, I think it was built in 1900. They do tours of it, and the tours, unfortunately, were closed this week because they had some situations that they had to deal with. So I had hoped to do that, but we'll have to catch it next time because we're going to come back for the Mayberry meetup next year right here at Mayberry Campground. So let's start with the size of the campground, because that's kind of the issue. You know, we are here for a meetup, so it has to be a larger campground. And this campground has, I think, 139 sites. When you have 139 sites, they're typically going to be smaller sites, of course. And that's one thing that we had to work on here. But, you know, all in all, this is a decent place to stay. And if you stick around to the end, I'm going to give you the better sites to reserve. And I'll even notate the time right here to skip to that chapter, so you know where to stay when you come to Mayberry. They do have some amenities here that you would expect larger campgrounds to have. They have some cable through most of their sites. They don't have cable in sites, I think it's 108 through 139. And so that's over here on this side of the pond. But over where we are, which is back in there and that stuff, there is cable there. Now the cable, it was a little bit snowy, but I'm not used to having cable. It wasn't a big deal for me, so I didn't even complain about it. I did try a second coax cable though, because I thought, well, maybe my coax cable was messed up because I had to get a little bit of an extension. I never use cable, never. But I got this cable. I've hooked it up like 3 times. It's like 20 feet long, because we don't ever go anywhere with cable. Finally go somewhere with cable. Here's the cable. Here's where you plug it into, and that's as far as I got. I only need like another 2 feet. That's the life. Always buy more stuff. You know, that's not a big deal for me. I don't give them negative marks for that one. There is a men's and women's restroom with a shower that's built into the office up here, and so you do have a shower in a bathroom, like a bathhouse type setting, but it is quite far away from most of the camping places. Unless you stay, we had some friends that stayed in a tent, which is pretty close to the office, which makes sense because, you know, you can't walk 3 miles to go to the bathroom when you're in a tent. So that makes sense. One thing that I found really interesting about this campground, and I've saw on videos before, is they do have a little mini laundromat here. Now the laundromat I found really interesting because a lot of people could do this and make their campgrounds a lot better for people that have more than a couple of days to stay. But they don't take the normal, I built a laundromat type facility here. They put it in a little shed. They got 2 washers and 2 dryers in a little outdoor shed. It is like painted and stuff. I don't think that it's climate controlled in there, but it'll be okay. I find that very helpful and a neat idea, and it just shows people that you don't have to spend $50 million on a big building just to put a washer and dryer in there. And I give them a thumbs up for that one. They do have a couple of playgrounds here for the youngins to play on. They have a couple of different ponds here, which I believe they allow fishing with catch and release. And you know, there's a lot of stuff to do here in the area, especially if you're a kid. You can run around, have fun. Now, we got to talk about the negative part of the campground, besides the small sites, which I told you I'm going to give you a way to get around. But the biggest negative for me, we did come during a YouTube meetup, so obviously a lot of people are going to have internet enabled devices and be trying to do stuff, and you're all fighting for the same bandwidth. I will say that today, whenever everybody left, the Wi-Fi was a lot better. It was like 8 to 10 download, where before it was like 1 to 2 maybe. But on Verizon it was the same thing. So Verizon, I have 5 bars looking at my phone, but it's not hardly fast enough to do diddly. It's like 1 to 2 download, and that's continued to kind of lag and be a little bit slow after everybody left. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but I will say that Bill over at Nursing Our Travel Bug told me that they use AT&T hotspot, and with that AT&T hotspot they get excellent coverage here with a lot faster speeds. All in all, I think that this is a good value if you want to visit the Mount Airy area. Full price, it's $38 a night. But they do also reserve golf carts for $30 a night. And they have discounts for the reservations if you're in Good Sam, Military, AAA. I think I saw Passport America. So there are some discount programs there, but usually when you get into larger places like this, then that price starts creeping up there. And I think $38 a night is a fair price for what you get here, especially if you're going to be having a rally or a meetup with a bunch of different people. And so for our purposes this year and last year and next year, this works out great for the Mayberry meetup. I mean, where else can you have a Mayberry meetup if you're not in Mayberry Campground, right? I mean, come on. All right, guys, so I just want to tell you the best places to stay. So this is the part that you've been waiting on. Okay, so the list of places that I would stay in the order which I would pick them. Now, you guys know this can be a little hairy. Most of this is just going to be hinged on how much space you have around your camper, especially on the front door side of your camper, okay? So those sites are going to be 108, 31, 16, 17, 5, 4, 36, 64, 95, 39, 37, 117, 87, and 44. There aren't any sites here that I would specifically say to avoid, because the biggest issue is going to be the space. You know, the spaces are a little bit smaller, but there's no bad areas. So there's no areas where you're going to like immediately regret other than not having a couple of feet. So these sites are going to be better ones for size. Now, as usual, thanks for supporting the channel. Thanks for sticking around to the end, and be sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you hadn't. Thanks.
Do not forget to hit that subscribe button.